Okay. So instead of this is our navbar, I'm going to create a component or a common component that we are going to render here. So I'm going to go inside our component folder and I'm going to get another folder. And as these components will be shared by multiple pages, I'm going to name the folder shared, and inside shared I'm going to enter a file, and let's name it our header.js. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to just import that component here. All right. Okay, so we have an error that says unhandled runtime error. Okay, let's see what is the problem here. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, I remember we deleted that folder. That's why we are getting that error. So now let's go back to our header component again. So, so this is our header component, right? So now we are going to style everything inside our navbar in our header component. So before we style everything, so let's say we actually have a max width, right? So if you see our if you explore our UI design, you can see that we have a consistent margin on our both sides of our web application. So we can actually define a container for that, so that we do not have to style this each time we render something. So for that, for our CSS, we are going to use a CSS, right? So I'm going to say SASS. Okay, let's go to npm actually. Ah, come on. Okay, let's open another terminal and all right. Okay, so we are going to use SASS, right? So to use SASS is actually like it is like raw CSS, but you can stack your files or the parent and component class names. You can stack them together. Okay, we're going to show you how you use SCSS. So let's actually delete our global.css and our home module from here. Delete. Okay. So after you delete something, always check if there is an error in your application. Okay. So we got is CSS global.css, right? Okay. So if we go to our pages folder, okay, so we are importing that here. So we are not going to use raw CSS, we are going to use ACSS. So inside our styles folder, I'm going to create a folder called main.scss. That is the extension. SCSS is the extension. So inside that, I'm going to import everything or every other SCSS file that I create inside our main.scss, and inside our app.js, I'm just going to import our main.scss, right? Let's use the import alias and styles main.scss. Okay, let's see. Okay, we have another error. Let's see where this error is coming from. Probably from our index file. Okay, this is the error. Let's actually clear up our home page. we're going to delete everything from here. What is this error? Okay. Okay, let's clean up everything. All right. So it should be simpler now. Inter is not defined where. Inter, okay. Do not need that. Okay, now everything is gone. It is simpler to see. All right, let's go back to your code and okay. So now we have imported our main.css here, right? So now what I'm going to do is inside our styles folder, I'm going to create a new folder called components, and I'm going to keep everything, every CSS file or SAS file related to the components inside this folder. So let's create another folder called shared, and inside that folder I'm going to create our header.css. All right. Now inside our main.css, I have to import it, right? Import. Okay. Wait. Mm, mm. All right. Let's import our CSS file from here. We want to say components, shared, and header. Okay. Now we have our CSS file set up ready. So inside our header, we also want to add some common stylings, right? Like for example, we want to set up our container. We want to create a container. Then we have a background color, right? Yeah, a common background color. We want to set up the background color. We want to set up our card style, and you can manage all of this here. And we have our card styles, our product category style. So we are all going to keep those in a common file. So let's create a common CSS file. So inside our styles, let's create another one. Let's name it common.css. So we're going to keep everything, every common style here, and I have to connect it to our main.css. Okay. Okay. So we also need another file, right? So as you can see, we have to manage all the colors, right? So we have different colors throughout our web page. So if we enter all of these colors separately in our each class or our each ID in with our CSS, if we want to change those colors later, we have to go through each of the files and change them from everywhere, right? So actually, SCSS gives us another very special feature that we can create variables, right? With normal CSS, you can also create variables, and with SCSS, it also gives us the support to create variables. That means we can get variables and keep our colors there. So I'm going to do that. Let's name it variables dot SCSS. All right. So now I have to collect all of the colors from here. So I'm not going to go through each of the colors from here. So I'm just let me okay variables. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to copy and paste the all of the colors from the previous project or the running project that we are developing. So I do not have to bore you with getting all the colors and yeah importing them here. So you should get those colors in a place or a simple file from your UI designer so that you can add those as variables to your project. So I'm going to do that. All right. So now our variables or our colors are set up, right? So now we want to get some common functions, right? Yeah, sorry, not common functions. We want to use some common classes. Okay. To use some common classes, let's say we first of all we want a container, right? Let's go back to our UI. We want a container for all of our contents or all of our sections. Section title, container, main container. Okay. So I'm going to copy paste some of the classes from our previous file because if I type all of the files and all of the HTML and CSS, it will take a lot of time. I'm sure, and I'm gonna trust you to that you can understand everything CSS and you know how to enter write CSS and HTML. So we are declaring a class that is main container. We are setting up the max width to 1400 or margin to 0 auto, and we are also adding a media query that that if the max width is exceeds the 1440 pixel, we are setting up a padding and margin to 0. Okay, so that is our main container. So I'm going to create some other classes too. For example, we have a section title, right? So these features product, latest products, these contain the same styles, right? Super tendency products, our product gallery, these have the same styling. So I'm going to create a common class for them. So let me copy that too. Okay. So this is our section title. Okay, this is the font size I am getting from our Figma file. So if we click on here, this is our, we are using the Poppins font. I'm going to add the font later. And we have our weight, size, our line height, align everything. Okay. So this is our section title. Okay. And then we have our home section title. Let's go to our UI again. We have our home section title. Okay, so I was actually wrong. This is the home section title, right? This is our home sections have title. So and our section titles would be these titles, right? These would be our section titles because these titles are inside our sections. So you can name it however you like. It's up to you. We use the naming conventions, so don't worry about those. And we have also have a section subtitle function. I'm just copy pasting this these classes from our previous project, so I'm sure you can create these CSS classes, so I'm not gonna bore you with that. We have a text gray and text primary to set up our primaries. So as we can see, this is where we are using variables, right? So if you want to use variables from our variable files, you have to enter the $sign. And if you have your variables file open, it should give you a preview or suggestions. Text gray. Oh, sorry, it won't because I didn't import the variable file, right? So when you are importing the variable files, make sure you import it at the top, right? You import it at the top of everything. Not media, should be import. Okay. Semicolon. Okay. Okay. Now these variable files are imported, and I think now our common.js file will be able to access those. So now if I enter, and why isn't it giving me any suggestions? Okay, now it is. Okay, so now you can enter the variable from here. Then if your variable changes or your color changes, you can just change it here from here in your variables file, and you do not have to go to through each classes and change the colors, right? Okay, so this is our main container and our common file. So we also need a default styling, like for our p tag, our HTML tag, and also our root folder. So for that, I'm going to create another file. Let's call it default.css. Okay. So inside our default.css, I have to import our font first, right? So let's see what font we are using. we are using Poppins, right? So let's go to Google and search Poppins font. Fortunately, this is a free font. Okay, so if you click on get font and then come to get embedded code, and we are importing it in using our import alias. So this is how you import it in your web applications, and we are just going to copy it from here. Let's copy it, and we are going to enter it here. Okay, okay, so not like that. Okay, what am I doing wrong here? Oh, I was at the first time. Okay, so now that we have got our font, we have to set up some styling, right? So we have to remove all the padding and margins from default padding and margins from our web page. As you can see, we are getting some margin from here in before header and on the top of header. So for that, we can just get everything, and every before and after we can set the margin and padding to none and set the box sizing to border box. So I have to import it first. So let's import it. Not URL. Let's default, right? Yeah. So now it should work. So if you go to our UI, you can see our default padding and margin is gone. So then we have got our font. Now we want to apply the font to each of our elements. So let's do that. So for our each one, all the H tags, and for our link tags or P tags or button, we want to set the font to, okay, sorry, this is a different font, I think. B Vietnam Pro. Okay, let's go back to our UI again. Are we using B Vietnam Pro? No, it is Poppins. Okay. Okay, let's go back to, okay, let me see. We are doing wrong here. Mm, should work. Okay, so let's actually go back and import that font. Okay, so do we want to, we do not want Poppins. Okay, so our default setup is complete. Sorry. All right. So we also want to declare a primary button and other common functionalities. I'm going to do that later.